I have some big goals, but most of them only live in my head. And living off of vague visions isn't really a strategy. So in this video, I'm doing something that I haven't really properly done before. I'm setting myself up for success. On paper, for real, not just thinking about it. So here are the 5 steps that I'm going to follow to actually set myself up for success and start reaching the goals that have just been living up in my head. Are you ready for this? Before vision boards, aesthetic planners, or trying to lock in, I need clarity. Because most of us actually don't fail because we're lazy. We fail because our goals are vague.
No. Kill it.
For example, I caught myself saying things like,
I want to make more money.
but what does that mean? More money how? From what? By when? If my goal is just to make more money, my brain doesn't know what action that requires on a random Tuesday afternoon. Our brain is basically a prediction machine. It is constantly scanning your environment for what matters. But if you don't define what matters, it doesn't know what to focus on. So the first thing I'm doing is a brain dump. Everything in my head goes down to paper. All my dreams, expectations, pressures, all the ideas I'm dreaming about, some slightly delusional ones and unrealistic ones, but they all come down on paper now. I just need to know what's actually there, because I have noticed when everything just stays in my head, I become very overwhelmed. But if I put it on paper, it becomes something that I can actually work with. And not all this just loose thoughts floating around in my head, never finding their target. You know? After that, I'm looking over my brain dump and splitting it into 3 areas. So I have physical health, career, and inner peace. And the things that don't fit in there or don't even align with what I actually want, I'm sifting away. I'm saying bye. And in this process of writing them down, I'm not just writing them down how they looked in my brain dump, but I'm making them more specific and not vague. So I'm not writing make more money, but maybe something like build a second income stream, or like save a specific amount of money each month. Because by making my goals specific, I'm turning what before was anxiety into direction. Because when goals are vague, I never feel finished. I just feel behind all the time. But when they are clear, I can actually complete them. And completion builds confidence. So clarity isn't about controlling my whole life. It's about giving my energy somewhere to go. So in this next step, instead of just making a vision board like everybody else without thinking, I'm going deeper. So now I'm going into the identity of who I want to become. Instead of just asking, what do I want to achieve? I'm also asking myself, who is the woman that naturally achieves these things? What kind of woman lives the life I just wrote down? How does she move throughout the day? How does she react when things go wrong? What does she do when no one is watching? Because if I want the outcomes, I also need to practice the identity. And honestly, the version of me that reaches my goals is probably not chaotic, or she's probably not constantly panicking. She's not criticizing herself all the time. She's probably grounded, consistent, someone who keeps promises to herself. So when I'm creating my vision board, I'm not just collecting aesthetic photos. I'm choosing images that represents traits and makes me feel these traits when I'm looking at the photo, like calm focus, discipline, strength, consistency. And I'm also choosing photos that represent the process and not just the outcome. Not just success, but the habits that lead there. Because the point isn't about pretending that I'm already there. It's about daily reminding myself of the person I'm practicing to becoming. So if you're also making a vision board, put it up somewhere where you see it daily. Or maybe in your phone, because you need to see your vision board daily in order to tell your brain that this is what you're supposed to focus on. And by doing that, you start to see opportunities where you didn't see them before. It's like this thing when pregnant women say that, oh, I see babies and pregnant people everywhere now that I'm pregnant. It isn't that everybody suddenly is pregnant also, but it's just because they are telling their brain that this is something important that I should focus on. And that's the same thing with a vision board. You're literally training your attention to what it is supposed to focus on. Now here's the part where things actually become real. Because a vision board without a plan is basically just arts and crafts. If I don't translate those ideas into systems, nothing is going to change. Dreaming can be inspiring, but systems is what makes dreams real. So now, instead of asking myself, what do I want? I'm asking myself, what do I need to do consistently to reach these goals? And I break my goals into 3 layers. So first, the outcome goal, like the final result. For example, get my degree. But that's not something I can do today. So then we have a second layer, which is the process goal. So the habit that makes the outcome achievable. For example, study 5 times a week. But even that is a little too vague. So that's why I'm making a third layer also, which is the daily or weekly action. Something measurable, something schedulable, something that I can actually do. For example, review lecture notes the same day that I have written them. Now that is specific. That's something that I can actually follow through with. Because as we know, motivation is very unreliable. Some days I feel super driven and some days I don't. But systems, they remove that negotiation of, should I do this today or not? Because the decision is already made. Duh. And that matters because every decision we make uses up our mental energy. So like all the question of, what should I do? When should I start? How long should I work for? It all drains your energy. And that's energy that it can use in a more productive, I hate that word, way. But when I have already decided all of these things, my brain doesn't need to make any decisions. I can focus on all the work instead. So instead of just relying on my mood, I'm building structure and systems. Because obviously goals show me where I want to go, but systems is what makes me able to go there. But even with good systems, I know that there is still one problem. My brain doesn't care about my 5-year plan. It cares about today. And that's why big goals often feel very overwhelming. Not because they are impossible, but because they are so far away. So this step is about shrinking the big goal down a little bit. So instead of just focusing on the outcome and having that as my goal, I focus on the next small action and making my micro goals. Oh yeah, because small wins matter more than we think. Okay? Every time you complete something, your brain releases dopamine. And dopamine plays a huge role in motivation. It's literally the chemical that tells your brain, that was good, do it again. So instead of creating these huge daily to-do lists, I'm focusing on a few small priorities. For example, if your goal is to become healthier, maybe you have as a micro goal, eat 3 different vegetables each day. So don't focus on these big life transformations, just on small, achievable actions. Because confidence is built from affirmations. It's from lived experience. And those experience builds evidence for your mind and tells you that you can actually follow through or complete things. So every small completion builds proof that you are capable. So the goal isn't to overwhelm myself, but to create momentum. Now, the last step is the most important one. I refuse to build a future while hating my present. I have done that before. I have noticed that when you are very goal-orientated, it's very easy to live in this gap. The gap between who you are and who you think you should be. The gap between what you have and what you want to have. And if you stay in that gap for too long, ambition slowly becomes just self-criticism. Because your brain is naturally smart and just want to survive. So it is constantly scanning for problems, for what needs to be fixed and what is missing. But gratitude can retrain that focus. So gratitude is not ignoring your ambitions, like I thought before. It just helps you widen your lens a little bit. Because I have definitely fallen for the trap before of just thinking that I will be happy when I reach my goals. I will feel relaxed when I am successful. I will feel proud when I'm further along the line. But that line never stops moving forward. The line always keeps on moving forward. So you're always going to feel miserable and like you haven't succeeded with anything. And what you have is not good at all. Are you ready for this? Wait. It was a little bit hard. Okay, is that good? Is that good? Oh my god, a snow angel! So in my planner, I'm also adding a simple habit. Every day, I need to write down 3 things I'm grateful for. And it doesn't have to be these big things. It can be small things. Like the sun through my window that is giving me light. Or the plant in my room that helps me breathe oxygen. Because I can promise you that ambition without gratitude just makes life feel miserable. But also, gratitude without ambition just makes you stagnant. And that's not what we want. But together, I think that they can build something healthier. Like a growth that doesn't just make me feel burnt out and miserable. So this isn't me locking in. It's me building a life that actually supports me and my goals. And this is going to be an ongoing project. And I want to document what works, what doesn't, and how this evolves. So if you want to see how this unfolds, you should probably subscribe and follow along. This is amazing. Oh my god. Woo! There was a hole. And it wasn't mine. Let it go. Let it go. Can't hold it back anymore. Cold never bothered me anyway. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. I'm free. Let it go. Let it go. Okay, now I'm